this is going to be a major development on the eve of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's birthday. US President Donald Trump has dialed the Indian Prime Minister to extend his birthday greetings. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed his thankfulness to US President Donald Trump. He replied, and I quote, "Thank you, my friend President Trump, for your phone call and warm greetings on my 75th birthday." PM says, "Like you, I am also fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive and global partnership to new heights. We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." He goes on to tag US President Donald Trump. My colleagues Amit Kumar, Shreya Dhondial and Hina join me on this broadcast for details. Very big development coming in a day before Prime Minister Narendra Modi's birthday. Amit, tell us why this is going to be very important.
देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि अगर आपको याद हो, करीब 9 तारीख 10 तारीख को एक जो बहुत दिन से पिछले कुछ दिनों से जो एक तरह से डेडलॉक बन रहा था भारत अमेरिका के बीच, और खास करके ट्रम्प जिस तरह से एक अलग लाइन लेकर चल रहे थे, अलग 50% टैरिफ लगा दिया, 25% जिसने एक्स्ट्रा लगा था, तो इसके बाद से लग रहा था कि डेडलॉक है वो टूटा 9-10 तारीख को, जब ट्रम्प ने एक ट्वीट करके कहा कि हम लोग जो मोदी है वो हमारे बहुत अच्छे दोस्त है और हम लोग ट्रेड डील की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। इसके बाद प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने भी उसका जवाब दिया और उसी में ही जिक्र था कि आने वाले हफ्ते में हम बात करेंगे, और वो मौका है अब, जबकि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के 75वें जन्मदिन के मौके पर ट्रंप ने प्रधानमंत्री को न सिर्फ बधाई दी है बल्कि ये भी कहा है कि बहुत जल्द हम लोग ये जो दोस्ती है और जो ग्लोबल पार्टनरशिप है ये कैसे आगे बढ़ेगी, नई ऊंचाई पर जाएगी। तो ये दिखाता है कि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी और ट्रंप के बीच में जो एक केमिस्ट्री था, एक जो दोस्ती है, वो फिर से कहा जाता है कि विदेश नीति तो अपने हित में होता है, लेकिन अगर आपस में दो नेताओं के बीच में केमिस्ट्री अच्छी होती है, दोस्ती अच्छी है, तो 2 कदम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। जो एक तरह से आइस ब्रेक हो सकता था, जो दोनों दोस्तों के बीच हुआ, जो एक डेडलॉक था, वो खत्म इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि नरेंद्र मोदी जिस तरह से भारत के पक्ष को मजबूती से रखा, और इस बात को मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं ट्रंप ने भी समझा है और भारत की ताकत को भी उन्होंने महसूस किया। और पिछले दिनों जब आपने देखा था, जब पुतिन, शी जिनपिंग और मोदी के साथ जो तस्वीरें आई, तो इसके बाद मुझे लगता है कि एक जो डिरेल हो रही थे रिश्ते, वो फिर से ट्रैक हुआ, क्योंकि अमेरिका को भी पता है कि एक ग्लोबल स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर के तौर पर भारत उसका साथी है, और नरेंद्र मोदी के साथ जो केमिस्ट्री है वो कहीं ना कहीं दोनों के बीच काम आया कि एक बार जो रियल रिश्ता हो रहा था दोनों देशों के बीच, वो फिर से पटरी पर आया है। दोनों के बीचों में एक तरह से कम्युनिकेशन शुरू हो गई है, टेलीफोनिक कन्वर्सेशन हुआ है, पहले ट्वीट के जरिए और अब फोन पर दोनों ने एक दूसरे से बात कर ली, और
2 बार ट्वीट पर बात हुई है, और ये सॉफ्टनिंग ऑफ टोन हैज टेकन प्लेस फ्रॉम द साइड ऑफ डोनाल्ड ट्रंप फर्स्ट. Trump is the one who has been praising Modi continuously. Even in fact, when he says that India is Maharaja of tariffs, or his aides say India is Maharaja of tariffs, and Trump goes on to say that they need to counter tariff India, even levy penalties. He always says Modi, however, is a good friend of mine. Shreya Dhondial, but now these interactions have gone further. From social media back and forth, twice Prime Minister Modi has responded to Trump. This time, Donald Trump has actually picked up the phone and dialed Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A lot has been said about calls that were made and were allegedly, reportedly not picked by the Prime Minister ever since Op Sindoor happened. Finally, now there is a conversation that has happened over the phone.
This call clearly was picked, and this call clearly was a very pleasant call after some very unpleasant things, Priya, that have been said in the last 1 month by the Americans, by Donald Trump, by Peter Navarro as well. But what we are seeing today is definitely more than just a thaw. This is much more than a thaw, because this is, I think, the relationship, the American relationship with India coming back on track. Let's not forget that today a trade delegation was in India, and the press note that they have issued, that the Commerce Ministry has issued after a 7-hour-long negotiation, is one that speaks of positivity. So a lot of positive things happening when it comes to India, America, and the relationship getting back on track. When will we have a trade deal? We do not know that, but we definitely know that at least the two countries are speaking, and they are speaking in a language that is acceptable to both. One thing is very clear. I think India has made it very clear that bullying will not work with us. You talk in a decent tone, you be reasonable, we'll be reasonable. At no point have we ever said we will not come to the talking table, but we have red lines, Priya, and the Prime Minister of this country has made it very clear what those red lines are. We will not buy your corn, we will not buy your soya, we will not buy your dairy, because it will directly impact our farmers. So those red lines have been drawn. Things have become unpleasant in the last 1 month. But what this phone call and this tweet very clearly tell us is that the relationship is back on track. Is it gung-ho? Is sab kuch theek hai? Maybe we should not go to that extent, but things are looking positive, things are looking up.
Yes, and every single word of what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said on the social media platform is going to be scrutinized. Everybody is going to go through it with fine-tooth comb, because on a day, Hina, when a US trade team was in India, even if for a day, and there were trade talks happening, they had been delayed earlier after penalties were imposed. Trump had been acting tough. Run us through what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said after the phone call that Trump had made, even as we await the details of what Trump had said in that phone call.
That's right, Priya. Like you said, every word is going to be looked at very, very carefully. And when it comes to the Indo-US relationship under Trump administration, diplomacy is on one side. On the other side is this camaraderie, bonhomie between these two leaders, US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And, I really want to pay attention to this one word that has been used by Prime Minister Modi here when he informed the world about this conversation that he had with US President Donald Trump. So Prime Minister Modi has mentioned, "Thank you, my friend, President Trump." Now, this is very, very important, because there's always a personal connection that both leaders have spoken about, whenever they put out posts on social media platforms. Prime Minister Modi does it on X, US President Donald Trump does it on Truth Social. Both of them have used these specific words to address each other, my friend, great friend, etc. So here also Prime Minister Modi has said, "Thank you, my friend President Trump, for your phone call and warm greetings on my 75th birthday. Like you, I'm also fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive and global partnership to new heights. Timing is very important. We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." And he's tagged President of the United States of America and Donald Trump's personal handle as well. Now, I will be looking forward to two things looking at this particular post by Prime Minister Modi. One, of course, is, as Union Minister Piyush Goyal has said recently, that by November we could see a trade deal getting finalized. So this post clearly shows that things are on the right track. Second important thing that we can expect perhaps in the next few days or so is perhaps a reversal of this 25% penalty that Trump had imposed on India for buying the Russian oil, because things now have started getting better. That's what we can say. Things are moving positively in the Commerce Ministry as well, between the team from Trump administration and team from Prime Minister Modi's administration, and hopefully for Indian exporters, some good news could be on the anvil. This is what this post really looks like. Otherwise, why would Prime Minister Modi specifically say, "Thank you, my friend, President Trump"? So this is very, very important. But of course, we'll have to wait and see, because when it comes to Trump, you cannot really, decide. You cannot really predict, because he's quite unpredictable.
Stay on with me, because I'm also joined on the broadcast by Jeffrey Gunter. He's a former US ambassador. Sir, the whole world right now is playing a sort of a guessing game, trying to read the mind of a very, very unpredictable Donald Trump. What do you make of this latest development, when the US president has finally picked up the phone and made the effort to call up the Indian Prime Minister, even though the excuse might be his birthday tomorrow?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate your great Prime Minister on his birthday, along with your entire country. And it's not a coincidence that my former boss and friend, President Trump, values his relationships, values his friendships. And I've been saying on your show now for 2 months, everything will be okay. Why? Because India and America have common values. We have common beliefs. And we've talked about, India being able to date China or have negotiations with Russia. But the reason why, obviously, the Indian people are excited and America is excited because really we're very close nations. We're great democracies. And when you start to see a delegation coming out of 7 hours of negotiation in Delhi saying positive things, it means that good things are going to happen. It means we're going to have economic reciprocity, which is so important for both of our countries. And I think this is really a very positive indication. And you know something? President Trump is actually quite predictable in certain ways. He predicted that we're going to have reciprocity, that we're going to find solutions, but we cannot have an unequal balance, which is what we had before. So it's all going to be good. And like I said many times, we're going to see a stadium filled with 100,000 constituents in India and America, and we're going to see President Trump, and we're going to see Prime Minister Modi on the stage, and we're going to celebrate the great friendship and economic prosperity between India and America. And fingers crossed, I think we're all on the right track. And congratulations to your station for being all on top of this and highlighting this important relationship between two great democracies.
But sir, stay on with me because let me also get in an Indian perspective on this. Sushant Sareen, a strategic analyst, is also joining us on the broadcast. Sir, should we take this gesture as a sign of US blinking finally, especially Donald Trump, or is it just one of those things where Trump one cannot read Trump's mind and we should not be too happy, but just be cautious about it?
No, I don't think anybody in the world can read President Trump's mind. But, and I don't think it makes any sense to say that somebody has backed down or whatever. I think this relationship is far too important, to label it as somebody has stepped off the high horse. If better sense is prevailing on both sides and both sides are getting back onto the table, India was already ready to talk to the United States. I think that's a good sign. I think it should be welcomed. I think we should try and smoothen out some of the rough edges that came into this relationship because it is a very important and a very critical relationship, certainly for India, but also for the United States. So if things are coming back on the rails, coming back on track, I think that is something which all sensible people will welcome, without taking digs at each other or trying to show that, okay, fine, we've got a leg up and the other guy's got a leg down. Sometimes these rough edges do come into international relations. And if there is maturity on both sides and both sides try and, get things back on track, I think that is something to be celebrated.
Mr. Gunter, but tell me this, Peter Navarro has been continuously harping on the fact how India has been buying Russia's oil. Now, let me quote to you a line that has been mentioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his reply to Trump's conversation, the phone call, the contents of which we do not know yet. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says, we support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict. Now, in the face of it, the point of contention has been India supposedly buying Russian oil, although we have repeatedly pointed out how, we are not the only ones who are to be blamed here. There are much bigger buyers of Russian oil, and therefore the argument that the Ukraine war is India's war does not hold water. Do you think that there has been some sort of a movement on that front between Trump and Prime Minister Modi?
I would resist the temptation to speculate. I think we have a great negotiation team in Delhi right now, and they are working through, I say, everything is on the table, and we're working with a great democracy like India. So I agree with your prior guest, who I've been on the show with many times before. He made a great observation. This is not about getting a leg up on anyone or anything like that. This is too far important to America and too far important to India, and also, quite honestly, too far important for the entire world in the conflict that we're seeing with Ukraine and Russia. So this is all positive. I think everything's on the table. I think the entire world would like to see people stop from dying in Russia and Ukraine. And this is one other component. And remember,
but the tariffs and penalties on India, they were never going to solve this. You also know who are the bigger sponsors of that war that is taking place in Ukraine. So, irrespective of what happens on this front,
and we're not going to relitigate the past, but I could tell you Peter Navarro's point of basically providing funds to Russia, which enables them to fight the war, is a very legitimate and smart point that he was making. And I get your argument too. Your argument is, look, we're not the only person who's doing business with Russia. We're not the only person who's doing business with China. But to be honest with you, I think the important thing is that we look forward. We look at the strong relationship between Modi and President Trump, and the great foundation that supports that relationship is the Indian people, and the American people, and our shared love of democracy. So this is a time to look to the future and understand that we have teams of people who are looking at these issues in Delhi right now, and we should be a little bit more than cautiously optimistic. We should be optimistic, looking forward to that great day when we see President Trump and Modi together on the stage, and I can't wait to be there.
So if we were to be optimistic, cautiously optimistic, what is the best case scenario that we are looking at right now?
A great question, and I would say reciprocity. I think President Trump has been very predictable from the beginning of this. He wanted trade reciprocity. He didn't want America, like he said 35 years ago on Oprah, he said America is getting ripped off. And he made it his campaign-centric theme was that America was going to readjust these trade relationships, and he's getting there. And he's making peace around the world as well. These are campaign promises. He is very predictable on this matter, and reciprocity is very important to him, and we're going to get there, and I think we're going to see a much more fair and balanced trade relationship with the great country of India, and he's going to do it with his friend Modi, without a doubt.
So you're being very diplomatic. You give a very long answer without giving any specifics. We know what issues have been the bone of contention. There is the agriculture, there is fisheries and things like that. But where would either of them have blinked? Because, you know, Trump really always is the one who says, I am best at everything. But the one thing, the one criteria where he's conceded, he says, Modi is a very tough negotiator. And so far, India has given no hints that they are going to relent, whether it is buying oil from Russia, reducing the quantities, or giving up on the interest of its farmers. So if there has been a thaw, what are those areas, if you could just help us understand, in your understanding, where there could have been common grounds reached between the two?
I think I'm going to leave that up to the negotiators in Delhi right now.
But an intelligent guess, remember, you've been a part of the system. You say president is very predictable, so maybe you could, read his mind.
I mean, you can just go down the list. You could go down the list. Let's face it. Peter Navarro's comments, which people might not like the wording, but were factually correct. There are certain industries that are protected by your great country and by Modi in order to protect the economy and the economic sovereignty of your country. We all know what those are, and I'm not going to give you the list, but they're all right there. And I think everything needs to be on the table. And who knows? You never know. Donald Trump, is the art of the deal, and this might be the art of the super deal between India and America. And this super deal might involve so many aspects that we are not even privy to, except those people that are discussing it right now in Delhi. So let's sit back. Let's see what the art of the deal comes out of between Modi and President Trump. And let's hope that it's going to be the art of the super deal between two great democracies, and the great flourishing friendship between India and America will continue to grow. And I'm optimistic. I think we're going to get there, and everything's going to be just okay, like I've always said for the last 2 months on your show.
Okay. Stay on with me, sir, because we've also joined by Pathikrit Prem. Pathikrit, should we now see this as some sort of a birthday gift from Donald Trump to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in the sense that he might have blinked on the trade standoff that the two countries are currently facing, or are we reading too much between the lines?
I will just take it as a mere birthday wish, and we should keep it to that only, because first and foremost, is United States ready to take off the 50% tariff? Number one is that. Secondly, there is no problem with the trade deal, but the problem is when they insist on opening such areas of our economy, which we will not, because the livelihood of 15 crore farmers is involved. So if they keep on, if Trump kept on using all those elements like Navarro, Lindsey Graham, Scott Bessent, for Howard Lutnick, for all kind of statements calling India a trade economy, I don't think people of India have forgotten those. So if there is a wish, well, that is great. We respect that decision to greet the Prime Minister of India, and we look forward to a good deal. But good deal does not necessarily mean that there will be a change of heart and we will do exactly what they want. United States must understand that when you want good relationship, good deals, it comes from mutual respect. It doesn't come at pushing something. It's like we decide what is good for us. It cannot be. So I think we should not link it to the trade deal. I mean, if there's an improvement of relationship, that's great. We are two great democracies. But I think the trade deal would have its own hard bargains, where India will not budge away from the areas where India is absolutely reluctant, and justifiably so, in not opening the sectors where 15 crore people
but Pathikrit, let me interrupt you here, because everybody knows that we cannot read into Trump's mind. You are also right in being cautiously optimistic or maybe pessimistic. But see, we can only interpret from what we have. And what we have right now is a one-sided communication. What we know from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tweet on platform X, which can probably help us in making intelligent guesses about what could have happened. And one line which says, and if I can take liberty to say that, we can deduce that the conversation went beyond just exchanging courtesies and Donald Trump wishing Prime Minister a happy birthday and PM just saying thank you, which any which ways would not have been as simple as that. Is PM saying in his tweet, "We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." Am I wrong in assuming that this is the most definitive hint that they did discuss the war, the oil, and India's stand on it, and something might have happened on that front that led to this phone call happening and PM acknowledging it on a public platform? If you were to guess what could have happened, what would it be?
Well, it's pretty difficult to guess, but yes, I mean, Trump actually took certain decisions in terms of at least inviting President Putin, trying to converse on the issue of Ukraine. There has been an initiative on the part of the President of the United States. So whether it gives yield results or not, we have to see. Well, on the issue of oil also, let me put it this way. If United States wants India to procure a little more oil from the Americans to reduce the trade deficit, I don't think India minds that either, provided, of course, the prices have to be competitive. But yes, on those issues, there should be, convergence of interest. There are, and I keep on saying it, I may be repeating, that it is in the interest of both India and United States to have good relations. There is no problem with that. But that doesn't mean that the red lines will be crossed, because the red lines are the red lines. That's what I'm saying. So I think eventually we might see a mini trade deal from both sides, which is a win-win situation where the contentious issues are kept aside. If that happens, I think Trump would also have some kind of a face saver. And I think it is important for these two democracies and countries to have good relations. But yes, I don't think anybody, especially Prime Minister Modi, would forget the kind of acrimonious statements that came from the Trump administration, which was completely avoidable, because it's not for the first time India is having trade negotiations with Americans. We had several
Yes.
rounds in the past as well in the last 2 decades.
One can really hope,
never
Patikrit,
ever
that,
before anybody makes
you know,
mistakes.
Prime Minister's birthday tomorrow and this courtesy phone call from Donald Trump also brings some sort of a gift for all the traders who have been waiting with bated breath in India, whose businesses are being adversely impacted massively by these sanctions that have been imposed. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on the broadcast about this major development coming in, but we need to shift our focus now to